6 years ago, my life broke apart in a small apartment in Memphis. I used to believe that my family would always love me no matter what, but that day, everything changed. My name is Lena Harper. I am 25 years old now, and I have learned how to get back up after life hurts you the most. But back then, I was just a young girl with big dreams, hoping that one day I could be proud of myself and make my family proud too. It all started one day when my parents told me I had to leave our house. They said it was because my sister didn't like me being there. "You make her uncomfortable every day," they said as they handed me a suitcase. I couldn't believe my ears. My sister's words still hurt me. She said, "I don't want her here." It felt like a sharp knife had cut right through my heart. I had always thought my family loved me, but now I realized they were willing to believe her mean words instead of listening to me. I left our home with just a few clothes and a strong determination to prove them wrong. I told myself that even though they had thrown me away, I wouldn't give up. I wanted to show them that I could be strong, that I could succeed, and that I could build a life they couldn't take away from me. Years passed. I worked very hard, even when I felt tired or wanted to give up. I stayed up late at night thinking about my dreams, learning new things, and making plans for my future. Today, I live in Portland, Oregon, in a big mansion that cost $7.5 million. I built it all with my own hands. Every brick, every room, every piece of furniture is the result of years of work, sleepless nights, and never giving up. But then, out of nowhere, my parents called me. I thought maybe they wanted to say sorry or to fix what they had done. But they didn't. They wanted something from me. They heard about my mansion, and suddenly I was important to them again. My sister's jealousy and selfishness were still controlling everything, even from far away. They said they were coming to Portland to get some of what I had worked for. They didn't realize that I was no longer the weak girl they once threw away. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. If you are reading my story, tell me where you are and what time it is. I really want to see how far my story has reached. Growing up in Memphis, our family looked happy from the outside. Our apartment was small, but people thought we were close and loving. But inside our home, I always felt like I was living in my sister's shadow. She was always praised, always admired, and always the one who got attention. In my early 20s, I watched her shine. She was smart, funny, and beautiful. Everyone loved her, from our neighbors to our teachers. She was the one who could do no wrong, while I worked hard and tried my best, but no one seemed to notice. At first, I didn't mind. I admired her and hoped one day we would be equal. I thought maybe if I kept trying, we could be close and happy together. But then everything changed. My sister, who was in her mid-20s, got married. But her marriage didn't last. It ended in less than 5 months. She came back home, her suitcase hitting the floor like a loud drum announcing her failure. The air in our home changed. She wasn't the happy, excited person she had been before her wedding. She became angry and mean. She started picking on me over small things. My dishes in the sink, my laugh at dinner, even the way I walked across the room. Nothing was safe. "You're always in the way," she said one day. Her words cut me deeply. I looked at my parents, hoping they would say something, but they just stayed quiet. Their silence hurt more than her words. Her meanness didn't stop there. She would whisper to my parents about how I made the house feel tense, how I ruined the mood, how I was always a problem. I would hear her voice through the walls, low and sharp. One night at dinner, she even pointed at me and said, "Why does she have to be here all the time?" My heart sank. I wanted to defend myself, but I felt invisible. I looked at my mom and dad, hoping for support, but they looked away. Their silence said that they believed her. That hurt more than anything else. Vivian, that's what I started calling my sister after her return, kept attacking me every day. She rolled her eyes when I spoke, mocked my ideas, and dismissed me in front of others. Once, I suggested that we plan a weekend outing to make everyone happy and spend time together. She scoffed at me. "Nobody wants your plans," she said. My dad mumbled something about keeping the peace, and my mom pretended not to hear. I felt like I was living in a house where I didn't belong. Their favoritism was overwhelming. My dad would show off her old trophies from high school while forgetting my college grades. My mom would spend hours listening to her complain about her ex-husband, but when I tried to share my day, she would say, "Not now." I started eating my meals alone in my room, hoping to avoid her mean comments. But even there, I couldn't escape. She would say, "She's always sulking," and complain about me to anyone who would listen. I tried everything to keep the family together. I helped with chores, stayed quiet during arguments, and didn't answer when she snapped at me. But nothing worked. The distance between us grew bigger and bigger, like a crack in a house's foundation that keeps spreading. At night, I would lie awake thinking about everything she said, feeling the weight of their indifference. I didn't know it yet, but all this would lead to something that changed my life forever. When I was in my early 20s, something big happened. I had been working late nights on an idea for a tech app. It was a scheduling tool to help small businesses organize their appointments and payments. I poured my heart into it, staying up late and planning every detail. I was so excited to share it with my family. One evening at dinner, I showed them my sketches and explained how it would work. My dad nodded a little. My mom smiled. But Vivian crossed her arms and looked at me with a mean expression. I thought maybe she was just in a bad mood, so I didn't say anything. A few days later, I saw something that made my heart stop. My app idea, the exact same one I worked so hard on, was posted online by someone else. And that person was my sister. She had stolen my idea and claimed it as her own. I was furious. I confronted her that night, holding my phone with the evidence. "This is mine, Vivian," I said, my voice shaking. "You stole it. Stop this now." She didn't even care. "You're just jealous," she said, smirking. I looked at my parents, hoping they would defend me. But they didn't. My mom looked away, pretending not to see, and my dad said, "Let's not make a scene." Vivian's attacks didn't stop there. She said, "Her presence drags us all down. I can't stand seeing her face every day." I tried to explain how hard I had worked, how this was my dream, but she cut me off. "Nobody cares about your little project," she said. One night she told my parents, "If she stays, I can't handle it." I waited for them to tell her she was wrong, but my mom just sighed and said, "We just want peace." My dad nodded. I pleaded with them, "This is my home too. Why are you letting her do this?" Vivian just folded her arms and smirked. A week later, my dad called me into the living room. "You need to leave," he said, handing me a suitcase. My mom stood next to him, looking at the floor. They gave me no choice, no chance to explain. Vivian watched with a proud, smug look. I begged them to change their minds, but they didn't. I packed my things, shaking as I put clothes and notebooks into my bags. My app idea, my months of work, felt like it was gone, stolen by my sister. I walked out the door and looked back, hoping for a flicker of regret in their eyes. There was none. Betrayal burned in my chest, but so did a spark of determination. I wasn't going to let them break me. I would show them what I could do, no matter how long it took. With just a backpack, I left Memphis and never looked back. The first days were confusing and scary. I stayed at my best friend Sophie Lane's apartment, crashing on her couch with my few belongings. Sophie sat with me through sleepless nights, listening to me pour out my pain and hurt. She was the person who reminded me that someone cared about me and believed in me. I slowly started picking myself up, learning how to survive on my own. I got small jobs at first, working hard and saving every penny. I learned about business, technology, and everything I needed to make my dreams come true. Every time I thought about my sister and my parents, I felt anger and sadness, but I also felt courage growing inside me. I was determined to make a life where I could be proud of myself, a life where no one could take my dreams from me. Years went by. I worked day and night, learning, failing, trying again, and never giving up. I built my business from scratch. I made mistakes, but I learned from them. I stayed focused on my goal, knowing that one day, all the hard work would pay off. And it did. Today, I own a big mansion in Portland, Oregon, worth $7.5 million. Everything I have was built by me, with my own hands, with my own dreams, and with my courage. "You're stronger than this," she said to me, her voice calm and kind. "They don't get to tell you who you are." Her words felt like a lifeline, like someone had thrown me a rope when I was sinking in deep water. I had felt so sad and lost, but her words pulled me back, slowly but surely. She helped me pack my things carefully, putting each small item into boxes and bags. She even helped me make a plan for where I could go next. She reminded me I wasn't alone in the world, even though it felt like everyone I loved had turned away from me. I knew, though, that I couldn't stay in Memphis for long. Memphis held too many bad memories, too many ghosts from the past. A week later, I moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to live with my Uncle Miles. He welcomed me like I was his own daughter, opening his home without hesitation. He didn't ask me for explanations, didn't make me feel guilty, didn't judge me. His kindness felt like a warm blanket on a cold night. "This is your fresh start," he said, handing me a key to the guest room. His eyes were kind, and his smile was gentle. I felt safe for the first time in a long time. Miles's home gave me a foundation to rebuild myself, brick by brick. I enrolled in a community college that fall, eager to learn everything I could about computers. I decided to study computer science because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do something amazing, even if no one else believed in me. My first year was very hard. I had to balance going to classes, doing part-time jobs, and handling the stress of starting over in a new place. I spent nights in my small room or the library, studying code and learning how to make my ideas real. Miles cheered me on, cooking dinner when I was too tired to eat and reminding me, "You have a spark inside you." I've always known it. His encouragement kept me going on days when I wanted to give up. That first year, I threw myself into my studies. I worked very hard and did well in all my programming classes. My professors noticed my dedication and praised me for it. I began to sketch out a new app, one that built on the idea Vivian had stolen from me but made it better, easier to use, and more powerful. My app was a scheduling platform for freelancers, people who worked for themselves. It could help them track their jobs, payments, and feedback from clients. I stayed in the college library until it closed, staring at my laptop screen, my fingers flying over the keyboard. By the end of the year, I had a rough but working prototype. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. For the next 4 years, I poured my heart and soul into that app. I transferred to a university in Chattanooga and majored in information technology. My days were a constant cycle of classes, coding, and pitching my idea to local business people. I faced rejection after rejection. Investors told me my app was too small or that I didn't have enough experience. But I kept refining it. I added new features like automated reminders and safe payment integration, and slowly people began to notice. Miles stayed by my side through it all. He read my plans, my pitch decks, and offered advice when I was frustrated. "Keep going," he would say when I doubted myself. His words were like armor, protecting me from the fear that sometimes tried to take over. Slowly, my hard work started to pay off. A small investor gave me enough money in my 3rd year to hire a developer and launch a beta version. People loved it, and word began to spread. By the 5th year, freelancers across Tennessee were using my app, and I expanded it to handle larger teams. I graduated with honors, but I didn't stop there. I founded a startup, putting my savings into marketing and hiring a small team. We worked out of a tiny office, fueled by coffee and big dreams. The app's users grew to thousands, then tens of thousands. Revenue climbed, and I secured a major investor who saw the potential in what I had created. By the 6th year, my company was thriving. I bought a $7.5 million mansion in Portland, Oregon. It was a sleek, modern house, bright and spacious, like a dream come true. That house was proof of everything I had built from nothing. News of my success didn't stay quiet for long. My Aunt Bennett, who had always been kind but distant, heard about my mansion through a friend in Memphis. She called me one evening, her voice warm with pride. "You did all this by yourself?" she asked, amazed. I told her the story of how I had gone from those dark days on Sophie's couch to the long nights coding in Chattanooga. Bennett promised to visit soon, but I could tell she would also tell my family about it. I didn't mind. I wanted them to know I had achieved everything on my own, without them. One quiet morning in Portland, my phone rang. The number was from Memphis. I froze, staring at the screen. It was my mom. Her voice was sugary sweet, congratulating me on my success. "We heard about your mansion, $7.5 million. That's incredible." I waited, feeling that something was wrong. Of course, there was a catch. She continued, "You know, family tradition means we share everything. That house should be for all of us." My jaw tightened. "Share? After they had thrown me out?" I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, I built this on my own. You don't get to claim it now." She paused, said something about family unity, and hung up. The next day, an email from my dad appeared in my inbox. His words were formal, almost demanding. "We're coming to Portland," he wrote. "We need to discuss this in person. It's only right." I read it twice. My pulse raced. Discuss? They hadn't spoken to me in years. Not since they handed me a suitcase and told me to leave. Now they wanted a piece of my life because I had done something amazing. The audacity made my blood boil. I wanted to ignore it, to delete the email and move on. But a part of me wanted to face them. I wanted to tell them the truth they had ignored for so long. I wanted to show them that I was no longer the scared girl they had dismissed. I had built a company, a home, and a life without them. Facing them would be my way of proving that to myself, not to them. I called Miles, my uncle, my anchor since Chattanooga. I told him about my mom's call and my dad's email. He listened quietly, then said, "You've earned every bit of this. Don't let them take an inch." His words steadied me. He reminded me how I had started with nothing, how I had clawed my way through late nights and setbacks. "Stand your ground," he urged. "You owe them nothing." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Miles's faith in me was like armor, giving me the courage to prepare for what was coming. I knew Vivian would be there, too. She was always the one pulling the strings, the one who had turned my parents against me. Her name alone made me both angry and determined. I imagined her walking into my mansion, looking around as if she owned it, just like she had tried to claim my app idea years ago. But this time I wasn't scared. I spent the next few days preparing, mentally practicing what I would say. I wrote down all the key points: how they had chosen her over me, how I had survived their betrayal, and how I had built everything despite them. I was ready. I wouldn't let them rewrite the past. A week later, a car pulled up outside my Portland mansion. My dad, my mom, and Vivian stepped out. Their faces were a mix of forced smiles and entitlement. They walked through the front door like they owned the place. My dad's eyes scanned the high ceilings. My mom clutched her purse tightly. Vivian followed behind, her chin tilted smugly. I stood in the foyer with Miles by my side, my heart pounding, but my resolve strong. They didn't greet me. They didn't ask how I was. They launched straight into their plan. My mom spoke first, her voice sweet but sharp. "This house is stunning," she said, gesturing around. "But you owe us, you know. We raised you. We gave you everything. It's only fair we share this." I clenched my fists. After everything they had done, after they had thrown me out, they wanted something from me? I shook my head, keeping my voice calm. "You gave me nothing but a suitcase and told me to leave. This is mine." My mom's smile faltered, but she pressed on, insisting that family meant splitting everything equally. I had had enough. I stepped forward, looking straight at Vivian. "Let's talk about what you did," I said, my voice steady and strong. "You stole my app idea, posted it online as your own, and then convinced them to kick me out because I made you uncomfortable." The room went quiet. My words hung in the air, sharp and clear. I didn't back down. I looked at each of them in turn, seeing their surprise and maybe the first flicker of guilt. I had spent years feeling powerless, but now I was strong. I had a company, a home, a life that no one could take away. I didn't need them to approve of me. I didn't need them to claim what I had earned. I had done it all myself, and I would not let anyone take it away. Vivian made a mean face, but I kept talking. "You tricked them," I said. "You turned them against me, and they believed all your lies." My dad moved a little, looking nervous, and he kept glancing at my mom, who looked away. I felt my heart beat fast, but I knew I had to be strong. I had to tell the truth. Vivian opened her mouth to speak, but I wasn't done. Before the meeting, my Aunt Bennett had sent me pictures from her phone. They were messages from an online group about business. The messages showed that Vivian was saying my app idea was hers. She even said mean things about me. She called me lazy and jealous to make stealing my idea seem okay. I held up my phone to show my parents. "Here's the truth," I said, scrolling through the messages. "She lied about me to other people, and you believed her without thinking." My mom's face turned pale and my dad's jaw got tight, but they didn't say anything. The silence in the room felt so heavy I could almost touch it. I felt a little scared, but I didn't stop. I had waited too long to tell the truth. Miles, my friend, stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. "You have no right to be here," he said, looking right at my dad. "She built her life without you. It's time for you to leave." His support made me feel stronger, like I wasn't alone anymore. My dad tried to interrupt, mumbling something about family loyalty, but Miles cut him off. "Loyalty," he said, pointing at me. "You chose Vivian over her. You don't get to walk in now and demand anything." Vivian finally spoke. Her voice was high and sharp. "You're making a big deal out of nothing," she said, tossing her hair. "I didn't steal anything. You're always making things up to get attention." I stared at her in shock. Even with proof in my hands, she wouldn't admit the truth. I took a deep breath, and my voice became strong and steady. "You are not my family anymore," I said, looking at all three of them. "You lost that right when you threw me out. Get out of my house." Vivian's smirk disappeared, and my parents looked at each other nervously. I stood my ground, pointing to the door. I could feel my heart pounding, but I stayed calm. I had waited too long to show them who I really was and what they had done. A few days later, Bennett texted me from Memphis. Her message was short but very urgent. Vivian was still spreading lies. She was telling everyone I was selfish because I didn't want to share my money with the family. She was talking to relatives, saying I was cold and ungrateful, and that I would turn my back on them for money. My stomach hurt reading this. Even after everything, Vivian was still twisting the truth to make herself look like the victim. I wasn't surprised, but it still hurt. That evening, Bennett called me. Her voice was full of worry and doubt. I heard Vivian's side, she said, but something doesn't make sense. Tell me what really happened. I took a deep breath, happy she wanted to listen. I told her everything. How Vivian stole my app idea years ago, posted it online as if it was hers, and convinced my parents to kick me out when I called her out. I told her about the years of favoritism, how my mom and dad always sided with Vivian, and how they ignored me without thinking. Bennett listened quietly. Sometimes she made little sounds, thinking hard, piecing the story together. I sent her the screenshots she had sent me before, along with the ones from the online group where Vivian had claimed my work and said bad things about me. This isn't just about the house, I told her. It's about years of lies and trickery. Bennett promised she would find out the truth. She sounded angry, not at me, but at the family she had trusted. I hung up feeling lighter, like a heavy weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Bennett didn't waste any time. She sent those screenshots to other family members with a message explaining how Vivian had lied about me and how my parents had helped her. She included Vivian's old posts where she called me lazy and jealous to make stealing my idea seem okay. The proof was clear. Family members who had believed Vivian's lies started contacting Bennett. They were shocked and sorry. Bennett's message spread, and soon everyone knew the truth. Vivian's lies were being exposed, and my parents' role in it was clear too. My mom and dad tried to defend themselves, saying they were acting in the family's best interest, but nobody believed them because of the evidence. The consequences happened fast. Family members stopped talking to Vivian, my mom, and my dad. Cousins unfollowed them on social media. Aunts didn't invite them to gatherings anymore. Even close friends stayed away. My dad's reputation, which used to seem perfect because of his stories, fell apart. My mom, who had always acted like a caring parent, faced whispers about not being nice. Vivian, who had been the loudest, became someone nobody wanted around. Her lies were falling apart for everyone to see. I didn't feel happy about their struggles, but I felt calm and satisfied knowing the truth had come out. I felt free. Then Sophie sent me a message. I was surprised. She had heard from friends in Memphis that Vivian had been saying bad things about me years ago, even before the confrontation. Sophie said Vivian told people I was unstable and caused all the family problems. Sophie wrote, "I didn't know it was this bad back then." This made me feel angry but also justified. I thanked Sophie for telling me. It showed even more how Vivian had tried to hurt me, even in places I thought were safe. The truth was out, and it was changing everything. I started feeling lighter inside. I could finally breathe without worrying that someone would twist the story about me. Months later, I was in my home in Portland, finally feeling peaceful. I had stopped talking to my dad, my mom, and Vivian. Their phone numbers were blocked. Their emails went straight to spam. I didn't hate them, but I didn't need them in my life anymore. The sadness from their betrayal had lifted, replaced by happiness from choosing myself. I didn't owe them explanations or second chances. My focus was on my new life in Portland. My company was growing. We were adding new features to the app, and I had a team that felt like a real family. I spent evenings meeting other entrepreneurs and making friends who were kind and honest. These were people I could trust, people who celebrated my successes instead of making me feel small. I joined a mentorship program to help young coders, kids who reminded me of myself when I was younger, full of dreams but without support. I taught them how to code, how to work hard, and how to believe in themselves even when others didn't. Every step forward felt like a victory, not just for me, but for the person I had become. Miles became my support. He visited me often from Chattanooga. He brought his warm laugh, stories, and advice that helped me stay grounded. "You've built something real," he said once during a visit. "No one can take that away." His words stayed with me, reminding me that family isn't always about blood. It's about the people who show up when you need them most. We would sit together over coffee, talking about my company plans or his adventures. I felt like I belonged in a way I never did with my parents. I could finally relax and enjoy being around someone who cared. Through Bennett, I heard what happened back in Memphis. Vivian was working in a low-paying store job. She had almost no friends left. Her lies had caught up with her, and relatives who used to like her kept their distance. My mom and dad were struggling with money. They sold their house and moved to a small apartment. Their reputations were hurt because of the truth Bennett had shared. I didn't wish them harm, but I didn't feel guilty either. They made their choices and I made mine. I was happy in Portland. I felt strong, independent, and safe. I learned that self-respect and resilience are more important than blood. Family isn't just people who share your name. It's the people who respect you, help you, and lift you up instead of tearing you down. I spent years trying to make people who didn't care about me proud. Now, I found strength in walking away. Miles, Bennett, and my new friends in Portland became my real family. They saw my worth when others didn't. This lesson shaped everything. How I ran my company, how I chose my friends, and how I lived my life. I learned to surround myself with people who loved me for who I was, who encouraged me, and who believed in me.